Hey, Podnutians, welcome to Linux for the Rest of Us, episode number 259. This is Door Geek, owner operator of Podnuts.com. I like to think of myself as a Linux aficionado, trying still to be a guru. I am joined by a Admiral, on the other hand, Admiral Jonathan Nadeau. How are you doing, my man?
Ahoy, ahoy, mateys. I was trying to break my greeting salutations, so I'm doing well, though. Thank you. How are you, Door?
I'm actually getting by here, getting okay. I gotta ask, how was your New Year's festivities?
Uneventful, which is good on my end, when you have 5 kids, so that, everything was low key, hung out with them, brought in, I don't even, actually, honestly, I think I slept through New Year's, to be honest, but this New Year's is going to be quite amazing. I can say that much.
Gotcha. Yeah, I do prefer uneventful New Year's. This New Year's is also my anniversary, wedding anniversary, but it's also my sister-in-law's birthday. So my wife convinced me to do our anniversary the day before and then drive up an hour to my sister-in-law's house. And the fog, like on almost the entire eastern seaboard, was absolutely nuts. So I
Oh
made
man, yeah, the weather.
Yeah, so I made sure not to drink a drop the entire night. So when I'm driving home, I'm like literally like staring as hard as I can, eyes on the road, going 10 miles an hour under the speed limit, making sure we're getting home safe.
Yeah, the weather up here has been quite insane. I'm sure it has for you too. And I was saying the other day, I've always wanted to move south. I think if I wait a little bit longer, it's gonna move to me. So I'm just gonna hang out here
Yeah, it's been all over the place. It's kind of thing every 2 or 3 days, you don't know what to expect.
for real. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say I still not have had the opportunity to install Serpent OS into a VM or on a genuine piece of hardware. I did do some more, at least YouTube looking of it, and I will say it does seem like it is a graphical intensive mouse driven operating system is what I'm going to say, but I'm still going to try to install it and give it a shot sooner rather than later.
Do you know if it looked a little similar to that Bungie desktop that he was doing at all, or does it look like a whole new thing? Or
Well, I couldn't find anybody actually just sitting there showing it off. All I saw was a little glimpse.
okay,
I,
okay,
I haven't used Bungie in like 4 or 5 years. The panel bar looked like it could have been, but from what I remember, there was like a big fat, like almost old school Chrome OS sidebar with the clock, literally almost like right now it is with Windows 11, when you click the notifications, you get the whole right side of the screen covered up. And I didn't see that in the screenshot, so I'm not sure.
okay.
But with that said, I will say, I mean, I've been playing with Linuxes now for, I'm not going to say half my life. I'm old. I'm not that old. But there were at least a couple Windows managers that I found the link to on It's False that I'm like, I don't understand how I've never seen these before in my life, and none of them sounded like they were new.
Yeah, there was a couple on that list too. I was like, I have not heard of these. I thought they were new, but then when I clicked on a few, I was like, looks like they've been around for a while.
Right? Yeah. Like I believe I have heard of BSPWM.
I
Um,
think there was the one that was Q something. I was like, that must be new, but that it wasn't. I don't remember how long it's been around, but it's like I'm assuming a QT based one.
yeah, QTILE. I do believe it was QT based. It looked
Yeah, Q
very
tile. Yeah, something
right.
like that.
It looked very i3 ish, is what I'm going to say, but it looked a little bit better polished, is what I'll say. There's the one that I don't know if anyone can pronounce. Herbs Tufflovin.
There you go.
HERBSTUFTWM. It looks like it's, I'll say, heavier than your normal window manager, but I love the fact that now there's more things for me to play with. Of course, you have the IceWM, you have Awesome, i3, Sway.
I
Sway's,
three.
yeah. Sway's one that I did play
Sway's
with.
kind of new, newish or whatever.
Yeah, and that's what I got too. When I think Sway, I think like 2014, 2015 was when it came out, and I did play with it for a little bit, and I don't know why it didn't
Right?
stick.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I like the fact that there's even more stuff to play with now. Of course, there's X Monad, and I got to tell you, the screenshots of X Monad make it look much, much fresher and newer than when I think of X Monad. Because I think of X Monad, I think of like 2002.
Do you know who is a? Don't hold me to this, but do you know who I believe is an Xmonad user?
I do. The only person I think I know that mentioned X Monad out loud was Double M Dan.
Oh, I thought you were going to say none other than the Dave Yates.
Oh, Dave Yates. That's definitely possible.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure I heard him say before, like, we're talking about a podcast that hasn't been out for a very long time, but I'm pretty sure he said he uses it though.
I can believe it because X Monad is one of those ones I do believe. Year versus year, import your configuration and you get what you expect. But I will say the screenshots I'm seeing on the website make it seem like it's much more polished up, is what I'm going to say. So, like, Awesome has only seen like 2 updates in 10 years. I'm going to guess X Monad is seeing updates a little bit quicker.
What's funny is the Ghost and I were just talking today, and Mad Dog would say awesome is it's done. Doesn't need any more updates.
Oh, and I'm not going to argue with him. I was speaking with I'll just say this. I'm now 50 years old, a young kid at work. I think he's like 28, 26, 28. And he was talking about one of his things not getting an update in a while. And I said, you do realize not everything needs to be updated. And he just like stopped
right.
and looked at me for a second. And I said, if I have a simple project doing a simple task and I write my code right, after like the second or third time I update it, I really shouldn't have to update it anymore because it's done.
Right. There you go.
Yeah. And he just like didn't know what to say, didn't know what to do. And I said, no, I understand if I'm relying on like, a IMAP service on the back end, I'm going to have to update that because that goes through security
patches and stuff. Exactly.
Right. But if I'm doing something simple that I control the stack from beginning to end, yeah, I'm fine. I don't need to update anything. Now speaking of updating stuff, we've went through a couple of things in the past where we talk about how Windows clearly is more advanced in some of the things that matter to us.
Correct.
I'm going to try to at least, tilt the scales the other way a little bit to say, here's one way where I think Linux might be on its way, if not right there, to be able to give better support to Linux than to Windows. And that is an application called FWUPD. Have you ever heard of that one, Jonathan?
Yes. I didn't until you sent this link, and when I looked at it, I was like, dude, this is cool. Well, and I'll just say this also, already seeing the companies that partake in it was like very impressive.
Right. And that's the thing, I never heard of it before. It's up to version 1.8.10, like maybe 2 months ago is what I'm going to say. Okay. I'm a huge fan of the Logitech. What I classify them as is multimedia keyboards. A keyboard that you can have sitting on your lap that has a little trackpad and mouse buttons and a full keyboard for you to do like home theater type experiences with.
Did I lose you?
I'm here.
There we go.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, the K400 and the K600 are the two best like desk, like laptop keyboards I have for like home theater experience. And what I didn't know was I was looking at a thing on Bleeping Computer that said there's a vulnerability with the hardware dongle that you plug up and you have instantaneous connection. And the only way you can update it is to update your firmware. And I'm like, update what? This thing has firmware?
Right, I hear you, dude.
Right. So then I found out, there's FWUPD. I said, okay, let me just plug it up and see how it works. I installed it. It was the most seamless thing I've ever done in my life. I literally just installed the application, plugged up the dongle, clicked the icon of the taskbar, clicked the hardware, and clicked update, and it just updated the firmware. It was,
Dude, that is awesome.
Well, and in Windows, you have to. And here's the thing: this one application can support tens, if not hundreds, of different pieces of hardware in your environment.
Exactly.
If I was on Windows, I would have to install the Logitech, the expressly perfect version of the Logitech software in order for it to be able to update the firmware on the keyboard. So I thought, man, this is one way where Linux actually, kind of like the repos, kind of like package managers, this is another way where I think Linux is ahead of Windows when it comes to firmware to security.
Yeah, no, there was Lenovo was on there. There's all kinds of companies, like HP. There's a bunch of companies. I was like, this is pretty awesome.
Yeah. Now that the application name is FWUPD. If you do some digging around, you'll see FWUPD.org, and it links to what they call the Linux Vendor Firmware Service, LVFM. And this is where you can find out all the different kinds of things that support it. Yeah, this is the kind of thing. And for now on, I got to make sure when I buy things like wireless keyboards with dongles that they're supported in this software package.
Yeah, no, totally. I was highly impressed. It was awesome to see this.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing sneakily and quietly gained provenance and stability and structure and support from major vendors, and it's a polished experience. So whoever are the people behind this, all I got to say is please keep it up. This is the kind of thing that we need on Linux.
I have, I guess, maybe not necessarily a story, but like a question to pose or whatever. And you can let me know or not if this is we can want to talk about it or not. But I've been getting back, obviously getting back into Linux, and I'm dealing with various operating systems on Linux and distros here or whatever. And I'm running it, and I, have been out of the open source world for a little bit, so getting back into it, I now see snap packages and flat packages. What is the theory behind having these two different packaging systems, and is there any actual reason to use these?
Well, okay, first off, I'll say if anybody out there is a better expert than I, please send us an email. This is the way I perceive it. Snap is Ubuntu, Flatpak is everybody else, a Fedora, essentially. With Snap
/GNOME, it seems like.
I do think GNOME does have their interest in it as well, I'll say.
Okay.
And the way I describe Snap is there's certain distributions now you cannot, for instance, install Firefox via an apt package. You can only install it via a Snap package.
Because of licensing or whatever, licensing or something now?
I don't know if it's licensing. I think it's strictly because the maintainers like some of the features that Snap offers. I truly believe it's nothing more than a convenience factor for the maintainers. And on at least the Ubuntu's to refresh, to update all of your Snap packages, all you have to do is issue a sudo snap refresh. And it should install and update every Snap package that you can. With Flatpaks, that is a Fedora /Arch based thing is what I'm going to say. Now, with that stated, on almost every distribution that I've experienced, you can install a Flatpak or an app image. To me, they're kind of like kissing cousins. They share some DNA and they get
Right,
along,
right.
kind of thing. Flatpaks, I don't know if there's any different command to do the updates with them. I will say on my Steam Deck, everything I install is coming in via a Flatpak. If I try to run a
Interesting.
Pac-Man dash uppercase S, lowercase s, I believe, nothing ever gets updated. It's only via a Flatpak.
Interesting.
Yeah, and now I will say, almost if you remember, Jonathan, about 6 or 7 years ago, Arch took big headline smacking because their repository service did not do correct what is it,
Oh, like
key
key
signing.
signing or something like that. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So now they do it. What I'm led to believe is Flatpaks and Snaps are doing the more secure things like that, but to the next degree, even better, even more for people to not have to worry about it. I will say I'm not a fan of the fact that Snap is really only being picked up to by the Ubuntu's and nobody else. But as long as I run Ubuntu's, then I'm going to have to put up with that once in a while, is what I'm going to say.
Yeah, it just seems like yet another, divide or whatever. Like, oh, this way is better. No, this way is better, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I figured that's what was kind of going on, but that's why I just figured I'd throw it out there to see if just in case listeners might be like, hey, what's a Flatpak or a Snap or But the thing that because I kind of played, I think I played around. I don't know if I installed the Flatpaks. I think I installed the Snap Pack on actually an Arch-based system, and so the one thing I didn't seem to like, and I get it, I didn't get too far because I didn't like what it was doing. When I installed the one program, it was like, well, yeah, these other two snaps, it depends on like these other two snaps, you have to depend that, install that. And I'm like, well, how integrated into the system is this really getting then? Like, you know what I'm saying? I was like, how much control? Like, I just felt like I was losing access or something to the installations. To me, I don't know. Like I said, I didn't go far enough to get into it, but I just didn't see the purpose of the snaps or the Flatpaks from honestly just from that experience because I was like, I don't get it. If you install a snap package, I just figured it would pick up the rest of the dependencies within the actual system.
Yeah, and you are definitely on the right track because I will say both app images and I believe snaps are their own isolated thing. And what I mean is the old way, if you would download something via app or via something via Pac-Man, if things were already installed that were dependencies, then it didn't have to reinstall them. With app images, you always get everything over again, and I do believe with snaps, you do get everything over again. Also, if you take a look
Yeah,
at your
yeah.
home, if you take a look at your home folder, you will have a .snap folder. And it's almost like,
Hmm.
I don't want to say jails, but it's almost like compartmentalized
Yeah, exactly.
folders
Exactly.
where
Yeah, yeah.
everything's installed. Where in some ways it makes it easier if you just want to like shift delete. Um, but it's part of it is again maintainers and developers not caring about disk space because disk space is becoming so cheap. They feel okay with
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. As long as the packages work and they don't break between versions, I'm really not going to overly complain. But I will say, how many different commands do I have to run just to get stuff updated?
From an expert, I'd be interested in hearing just like why do I want to run either like I guess maybe if I'm running an appliance kind of thing or something. I don't know. I don't because like I said, I feel like they don't integrate that well into your actual operating system. So it's like I don't really get the point. Like I guess you can install LibreOffice that way or something, sure. But I'm trying to mess around with kind of audio software. So like I said, it just seemed like it wasn't going to be beneficial to me, But
Yeah, and like the other example I'll give you is I think it's that old pipe dream of I put out one thing and now a bunch of different people can access it and I don't have to reconstruct it explicitly for all these different platforms, architectures, desktop environments, Windows managers kind of thing. I think that might be it.
Yeah,
And um
I mean, I get that, but at the same time, like I said, I just feel like it doesn't integrate well into the system or whatever. I don't know. I could be totally wrong though. I don't know. I probably am.
well, I think it depends on the system and the launcher and the interface. I will say, and the other like weird thing I noticed was, for instance, if you go to install YouTube-DL on 99% of the things you ever install, you only have YouTube-DL. Yet for some reason on Snap, I get like 4 or 5 different versions, like YouTube-DL-Mike, YouTube-DL-Carl. It's like, what the hell is this? So I think it's
Huh.
easier
That's
for
weird.
yeah, I think it's easier for small people to put out things, maybe. But
Yeah,
I
I mean,
know that
I sort of get that because I mean, you know, because then you have to figure out how to package for Fedora or how to package, you know, RPM packaging or you know, it's whatever SUSE does if there's to do RPM and you know whatever. So I mean, I get it.
yeah, it's almost to me like a hybrid between jails or app images and native installs. It's like people don't want
I,
to do native installs anymore.
yeah, I wonder if the flat packages like interact a bit more with the system or not. Like, because if it's more, you know, if GNOME has their, you know, more, they're kind of more behind that. I wonder if it ties more into the system. Again, I don't know. I have to learn more, I guess.
Well, I hate to say it, I think it's always one of those things. It depends on distro maintainer's preference.
Speaking of distros, I guess you want to swing over to that one that was in the list there. It was the one I think I remember the name of it. If you don't remember it, it's the one based off Manjaro and OpenBox. It was like Ma Box or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. This was the one. The split second I saw it, I had to send it double N Dan's way because he's the only guy I remember who would tout about how good OpenBox was and how easy it was to use and how it's the one that, in air quote, everyone should use kind of thing. So as soon as I saw this,
Oh,
I
for
had to
sure, I
send it
remember
his
that
way.
too.
Yeah, and I will say, Manjaro not only being a new diabetes medicine that my doctor won't stop shoving it my way, but the operating system of Manjaro, I wasn't a huge fan of it when it came out, but it does seem like the more I see it, the more polished it gets, the more uh,
Dude,
the more it like gets away from what I think of as the old Arch way of install, update, break
you know what?
mentality. It seems stable.
I yeah, what I mean, basically what they did, they Ubuntu Arch. You know, they did what Ubuntu did the Debian. They Ubuntu Arch, and they did it beautifully, and it's fantastic what they did to it. When I went to their website recently, I was like, very different from the last time I saw their homepage. You're like partners with this company, that company. Like they're doing a lot of crazy like stuff, and they like sponsors that are backing them. I'm just like, man, these guys are doing rather well. So you probably see a lot of Manjaro-based operating systems, you know, right now.
And I think you nailed it. They've Ubuntu'd Arch. And I don't want to say it needed it because it really didn't. But if you want to compete and you want to get in fresh people's eyeballs and not just graybeards who shake their fist at everybody, this is, I think, the path to being more popular. And yeah, every single time I look at it, it just looks cleaner, sharper, better. And I hear plenty of first-time people using Linux saying how it, in air quote, just works. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. You're talking about Manjaro? Oh, okay. Shows you what I know.
Well, their one, I mean, for me, I mean that. So I based Sonar off of Manjaro and the like the when before Sonar ended, and Manjaro was pretty new. But the selling point for me, made a patch for Pac-Man, and Manjaro has 3 branches. And so they have their unstable branch, they have testing, and they have stable. And so stable is like, let's say 14 days behind like an actual quote, Arch release. Okay. So then Manjaro will take all the Arch releases, like all the Arch updates, and then they'll, go through and make sure nothing breaks, blah, blah. When they do that, they put it into their stable branch. So if you're on their stable branch and you do an update, I mean, I never broke my system ever, And I mean, yeah, you're 14 days behind Arch, but you're 5.5 months or 12 months ahead of other distros. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But if you wanted to run quote unquote unstable, that would be like a day behind Arch. So like you could do like a Pac-Man command and like switch from their stable branch to unstable, do an upgrade, and then just be like straight up running their unstable branch. And then if you wanted to, you could downgrade right back down to stable without even blinking an eye and just keep running. Like it's so impressive just from that. And so that alone is worth building your operating system on top of.
Right. Yeah. And I will say, going through their user guide, it's like the first boot process and all those different things. Then it gets to like keyboard shortcuts. And I got to say, all these keyboard shortcuts they have baked into this OpenBox Manjaro distro, it's like tickling my fancy is what I'll say.
There you go. And so, yeah, I would highly recommend trying this out. If you want to try out an operating system or a distro, I'm sure your feelings won't bear with this one.
Very cool, very cool. And one of the, I think, ongoing things with this podcast is open will always be closed, and competition is always better with more competition. Yes, if you have 300 active Linux distribution, it might seem like it's a little bit of a muddy choice kind of thing. It might be a difficult choice, but in the end, competition only benefits one party, and that is the end user. It always benefits the end user.
Well, and honestly, I mean, even if there is 300 distros, I mean, some of those or a lot of those are like such a fine-tuned like niche thing. I mean, but if someone's looking for it, it's the very thing they need.
Right. Yeah, and I still hold with the adage of never settle for a distribution, a spin, or whatever you want to call it. Always search and try to find the distribution that gets you as close to your pristine environment as possible. So when you install that distro, you have to install as few things as possible, tweak as few things as possible to get you to that perfect, precise, precision sweetness.
Exactly. No, yeah, that's actually the best way to approach that.
Yeah, one link I wanted to bring just as like a PSA, public service announcement. LastPass has gone through a lot of news cycles in the last couple of weeks. With the long and the short of it is, all the things you've heard and read about it are completely right. At the same token, I do believe a lot of people are being a little bit sensationalistic about it. Yes, you could have this one number turned down to 1. And if you do that, anybody will be able to basically brute force their way after they get your password to deciphering everything you have in your vault. I know at least now 40 people who've all ran that test on their LastPass vault. None of them have the number 1. I'm sure Steve Gibson will have people emailing him saying they have number 1 because he literally has 20,000+ people subscribing to his podcast. Okay, now with that said, is LastPass the best, most secure, perfect password manager out there? No. But neither is anything else. Nothing is perfect. Nothing will ever be perfect. If you don't want computer problems, don't have computers.
That's the best answer right there.
Yeah, I mean, every password manager will have compromise. And again, one of my favorite t-shirts I own my wife bought me. It's Kermit the Frog with Miss Piggy down by his feet, and Kermit the Frog is dressed up like Luke Skywalker holding a lightsaber above his head. So it's the poster of A New Hope, but with Muppets. It's compromise. It's marriage. It's marriage. My wife loves the Muppets. I love Star Wars. Okay, so whenever you pick a password management system, you are already accepting a certain amount of compromise. Okay, so right now, TechSpot, you should change your password manager's clipboard settings now. PSA, password managers are probably the safest way to establish and maintain secure passwords, but they are not bulletproof. One security setting in particular is perhaps a bit too lax in some managers, which could give attackers a way to grab users' passwords in certain situations. If you use a password manager, you should definitely check out the setting that controls how quickly it clears copied text from the clipboard, as it grabs information from this location is a common tactic of malicious actors. Now, that was the first paragraph. Okay. It then goes on to say some password managers like Bitwarden and Keeper never clear the clipboard on their default settings. That means when you say fill in my password, it never takes the password out of the clipboard. Okay. Now,
Lost you again there.
yeah, if I'm a bad guy, the very, 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 very first thing I'm doing once I get access to anything is I'm getting access to your clipboard, because we all put important, vital, sensitive things every now and then in our clipboard. It's just the nature of the beast. LastPass, I will say, is one of the only solutions on the market that on any platform never utilizes the clipboard, is what I'm reading on all the things. So you can say LastPass is incompetent. You can say they're insensitive. You can say they're racist. You can say they're Trumpers. You can say they're never Trumpers. It doesn't matter. Nothing is perfect. So if you're not using LastPass and you're using another thing, make sure it clears the clipboard at least every now and then. Now, with that said, if I'm a bad guy, I don't care if you clear the clipboard 5 milliseconds after you use it or 5 years after you use it. I'm still getting the information. So buyer beware is the way I'll put it.
Basically. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the other thing I'm going to say out loud again is you don't let the chicken guard, you don't let the fox guard the chicken coop. Sorry. You don't let the fox guard the chicken coop, okay? If you only have one thing verifying something, that's not security. I only know of one independent audit that has been done to Bitwarden. So as far as I'm concerned, it might as well has not been open source audited, because for all I know, that's their best friend. That's their brother-in-law, for all I know. It doesn't mean anything. Two, I still say, if you install their server on your hardware and you use that server, nothing gets stored on that server. It's just a pass-through proxy to the main Bitwarden servers. So you're still storing data on their servers. Again, if I'm wrong, somebody prove me wrong. Three, if you're using a product that is free and Bitwarden has a free tier, the next line should be pretty obvious to anybody that you are the product. You're being sold. That's just how technology works here in 2023. So I'll say one option I still have faith in is a solution called LessPass. LessPass. The difference is LastPass is a very much like LastPass solution, but it integrates with Nextcloud. So if you are hosting Nextcloud on a Raspberry Pi in your network, a VM in your network, x86 in your network, or you are renting a VSP, a virtual private server, VPS server, you can install Nextcloud on it and then install LastPass on it. Then you own the stack. You at least are in control. You're administrator of the complete stack of software. I will say the only shortcoming with this solution is if you self-host the server yourself, it has to be a valid HTTPS, not self-signed certificate. That's the only hang-up. So right now I can't host my own because I only use self-signed certificates because I only trust myself.
That's an interesting solution.
It's one of those things. I have put it on a VPS and I have installed it and I have used it, and I am very impressed at how well it works. I just don't want to use anybody else's cert except for a cert where I own the complete stack of where that certificate was made. So can't use it.
Okay. But now that is a cool solution. I might check that out though.
Oh, I can tell you the only trick is if you're doing an import of data from another source, if you do try to import LastPass, there's two options. One of them says XML LastPass, the other one says XML. For some reason, the last time I picked XML LastPass, it wouldn't import, but when I picked XML, it imported just fine.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a LastPass anyways. I'd be starting off fresh. So
Gotcha. Yeah, like the first thing I did was I just went and I donated the guy $5 because I need more people to do products like this.
yeah, like I said, so it's very interesting how that works. I'm definitely gonna check that out.
Very cool, very cool. Let me copy, paste that, and then this. Yeah, see, one more thing I did not know of. There is a command literally called LSOF. And I'll say when I was a Windows administrator, one of the things I found myself doing at least semi-frequently was logging into a server, right-clicking the server, going server properties, then going through services, files, open files, and seeing who is right now accessing this server, who is right now opening files on this server, because I need to cut these connections. They're locking a file, blah, 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 blah. And I had to do it honestly at least once a month, it seemed like, on Windows. There's literally LSOF, and I ran it on like 2 distributions down. It literally just works. And all it does is it lists open files on your computer. Now, of course, in my network.
That's cool.
Right. In my network, when I run that command, guess what? I should only see my username. So for me, it's not extremely helpful right now, but it's one of those good things where hypothetically, if I have a service on a box running wild, at least I'll be able to tell what's going on.
No, that is a cool. Again, this is another example of the power of Linux. I mean, Linux crushes Windows all day long in a lot of areas, and and this is certainly the area where Linux can flex for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, one of the old truths is what I'm going to say of the Windows operating system was everything about it was not designed to be on a network. Not any of it was actually designed to be multi-user. Where everything involving Linux was designed from the ground up to be multi-user. I mean, and I didn't have to install anything on the boxes. I just literally typed LSOF and voila, it works. Now, with that said, I guess if I could sit through Klaatu going through every command on a Slackware install. I might have known about this, but me being me, like 99 out of 100 commands he mentions, I'm like, yes, I either know about that one or, dear God, I don't need that command. Or it's only a command that's used by other applications doing like back-end processing. So when he starts to talk about, here's another list of commands, here's another like 6 or 10 commands, it just starts to sound like wah, 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 wah. I just, skip.
The well, are you mentioning because you had a list of like 50 commands? I was perusing through those, and those definitely brought back some Cloud 2 memories for sure. There were some commands on there that I was like, I didn't know these existed, but those it would have been useful at the time. When I was in college, doing more programming and stuff. Then, some of those commands in there, like when I can't remember the exact command, but it was like it'll get you back to directories, like a lot of common directories that you've been jumping back and forth between without having to type the whole path out. I was like, that's cool. There's like tons of like shortcut stuff like that.
Yeah, that one was on dev.to, which I will say, I find myself using that domain more and more, even though, at least half of the time when I follow a link there, they are way over my head talking about stuff. That command, I believe it was ZOXIDE. And of course,
that's it.
Why in the hell would you know about that command? It's called ZOXIDE, and it says, lets you jump to any directory without needing to remember or specify its full path. So quite literally, if you just remembered 3 characters in that domain, it was almost like doing a reverse command search, but you're only searching for file paths. Yeah. There's at least 1 or 2 of these commands that basically I shouldn't be showing on YouTube because they're profane in nature.
Exactly.
But they're also really useful, is what I'm going to say. So yeah, this is the kind of thing.
Dude, I couldn't believe that first one. I was like, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm. That's the one I could definitely see Double N Dan like loving and like abusing. But yeah, there now a couple of these I will say are extremely visual commands. Like EXA is a better version of LS. It's more graphical, more visual. DUF was a better DF, a disk utilizing thing. The one that I honestly, as soon as I saw, I said I have to.
Yeah, some of those.
Yeah. The one that I had to immediately.
I was going to say some of those that I saw, even though they're visually more appealing, I was surprised that they offered that the terminal would do that.
Well, and that's the thing. The terminal really can be as functional as you need it to be. You just got to either find the right tool or find the right tweaking of tools. Like the one that I thought was fantastic was literally called DIFF-SO-fancy. And it is exactly what it sounds like. It's a better version of diff that shows incredible amount of colors and highlighting to be able to let you see differences in 2 sets of files extremely easy. So yeah, this is the kind of page I literally bookmark, and then once a year I'll have to go back and peruse and say, yes, that's what I was looking for. That's what I was thinking of. Because I like making things easy.
Yeah, no, that's an extremely useful site there then.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing. I will say, oh man, I don't have the normal browser broken up. Okay, there's been a couple tools I've seen in the past that allow me to click a button and not just bookmark a website or a web page, but literally create my own personal archive site.
That's interesting.
I want to say the last one might have been called Ace Link. Let me try to just do a quick ACELINK. Let me see if I'm right. Absolutely not. This does not look right at all. But I will say there are these kinds of solutions out there. They're always self-hosted. I need to see if I can get one of these up and running because I like having my own personal archiving of this kind of information because, every now and then you go to a domain don't exist anymore. So I like being able to save it for myself.
Oh, so is it like kind of download that page or whatever?
Yeah, and there's been more than a couple of these in the past. Um, Most of the time, if it, I would love to be able to add my own personal tags to them, and the real reason why is I would like to save it and bookmark it, and then tag it as being Linux for the rest of us, or
Mm,
AAA,
mm.
or Mini PC. And most of the solutions I see out there, um, they're especially when they're intended for note taking, like the one that Adam Carolla, Adam, what's
Yeah.
his? You know
Yep.
what I
Yep.
mean? What's his name? Does
Oh no, 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 not Adam Carolla. I know.
okay,
Man, I
him?
know. No agenda guy.
Yes, the one he uses. It looks great,
Curry.
Adam
Curry.
Curry, but it's obviously intended to be only used for like one show, so I can't use it.
Oh right, because then you have to like have different like instances or whatever if you want like you have to do a per show kind of thing.
Aha, Linkace, Linkace, your self-hosted bookmark archive utility. This was the one that I was looking at. Because when you
Hmm.
bookmark it, you have the choice to either bookmark it or automatically archive it as well. So this was one I think I was trying to look at. The issue being right now I already have one 443 IP being pushed through my firewall. That is my next cloud. So I don't know if I could have multiples push through one IP address. I'm pretty sure that's not possible unless I try to host it through a different port.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna check that out too.
Well, it like harkens back to, you have a choice. You can be a user or you can be an administrator. You know what I mean? Dare I say, I watched a great little documentary thing, Jonathan. It is also on my Plex server, literally called The Making of Tron. And that was like one of the things I kept harkening back with. You can be a user or you can be a program kind of thing. I prefer to be a user.
Exactly.
Where yeah, I'd rather be in the arcade getting a high score and not just playing to my death in a disc death match. Very cool, very cool. I do not believe we have any emails, but I will also say I am really bad at organization and emails. So I do not believe we have any. And I will say, if I do get any, I will try to forward them to you as soon as I get them, just so you
Yeah, no
can
problem.
you can call me out and say yes, you do have an email.
Or if we have any flat pack or snap professionalos, send us an email.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah, yeah.
anyone else that wants to ask any questions. Not that I can answer them, but Dor can.
Well, if anybody has any deeper knowledge on, because to me, it's really three different ecosystems. You have app images, which are like the old school BSD way of doing it. Then you have flat packs, which seem to be derived from Fedora CentOS. And then you have Snap, which is the Ubuntu thing. But of course, every distribution can pick and choose and use everything if they want. Um, what's the reasons? What's the advantages? What's the disadvantages? Um, is it the future? Because I think the developers are acting like it's the future of all package management systems, which kind of scares me a little.
Me too. So until next time, use open source always and as often as you can.
Bada bing. I love you, Jonathan. If you want to send us an email, easy. Podcast at linuxfortherestofus.com. You want to send us a voicemail, it's easy, 7076 podnut. Or you can just go to the website and click the button to say contact us. And as long as you don't come off as a Nigerian prince, we'll get your email.
There
Um,
you go.
yeah. With that, Jonathan, hope to talk to you again real soon. And do not forget, Linux is not just for the experts around here, but is also available for the rest of us.
That's for sure.
normal Irishman fashion, I have a really small bladder. I'll be right back.
Well, hey, dude, I'm gonna have to bounce because Mike's trying to sleep, so
Huh.
I don't want to I don't want to be too loud or whatever. So
Okay, man. I will talk to you again. I will try. Next week. I will just say I have
hey,
a lot of.
tomorrow, the money should hit my account tomorrow. I don't see why it won't be in there tomorrow. So
Don't worry, stress, man. I would say next week I got a whole lot of stuff going on, including 3 doctor's appointments. My son
oh
is
man,
basically getting kicked out of high school, and he has to go to a like half virtual, half real school.
well, what is he? Is he a junior
No,
or is it the younger one?
my oldest is senior. He's fine. It's the youngest one who is a
Uh,
freshman.
okay. Honestly, dude, I talked to like my sign. Yeah, I know I got to pee, but real quick, there's this professor guy that I'm friends with, and during COVID, he has just one kid. Him and his wife are professors. During COVID, since everything was going on, the schools or whatever, his kid graduated high school as a junior and started going to college, and now at like 20, he's going to graduate.
Well, and then
So
here's
like,
the thing. I believe this is going to be better for him for a couple of reasons. One, it doesn't start till 9:30. All
yeah,
teenagers,
exactly,
I think all teenage boys wants to sleep a little bit more. You know what I mean?
absolutely. I'll talk to you soon, dude.
All right, man. Be safe.
Absolutely, love you too.